Welcome. Welcome to Center for Creators, Mastermind Conversations, hosted by myself. I'm Scott Holmes, our illustrious founder, Christy Russ, and my good friend and buddy, Twinkle Toes, Terry Engel. So why are we all here, right? We're here on a mission to create a community of collaborative creators to guide you to your highest impact. We're going to do this together. And today's topic, and it's an exciting topic, I'm eager to engage with all of you and Christy, is connecting to the highest of infinite intelligence. You picked an easy one, right?
Of course, why not? Let's just get right into the heart of it.
All right, so I'll start with some questions, but again, if anybody if it triggers you or you want to jump in and ask a question on yourself, please, by all means do. So, you know, when I think of highest infinite intelligence, energy comes to mind. Can you give us some insight, or first maybe describe, what do you mean by highest infinite intelligence? Christy.
All right. Well, there's, I wanted to talk about the, receiving the infinite intelligence, and all of us at some point are receiving energy and insight, and to be able to receive from the highest of pure positive infinite intelligence, understanding that there are all different ranges of energy. There's positive ranges from positive to negative, and being able to understand that we have the choice of what energies that we want to receive from. Being able to, it's kind of like a library where you have the choice of going in and picking out a book. With energy, you have the choice of picking what type of energy you want to receive, what you want to feel. And I guess there's so many different, what I see are, I don't know what else to call them, but I see them, I call them pockets of reality. And they're what some would refer to as dimensions or realms. I see them as kind of like pockets of insight and energy. And that's where a lot of times people are receiving the insight. And you're receiving from the energy and thoughts that you're putting out. So it's what you're connecting to. So when people share with working with energy or working with guidance or advice, I guess my point here, Marjorie and I had a conversation about this, is knowing what these people, where they're getting their insight from. What level of energy and evolved insight are you tapping into? Well, and being able to understand that you have a choice, and you have the choice to tap into the highest of pure positive energy. Okay. And by energy, I mean the insight. I see them along the same lines.
That was where I was going to go. Stay with us here.
It's all good.
All right. But you said a couple things there already that just really intrigued me, and I know we've had these conversations before, and regarding pure positive energies, and whether it's an insight or it's a feeling, or describe for us what you mean by just the highest pure positive energy. I mean, is there anything else?
Well, of course there's more, but I think it's understanding that there's more than just your inner self or your higher self, being able to tap into your higher self. And sometimes it's hard when you're, because a lot of this I experience, so sometimes it's hard to find the words to actually express what I'm experiencing. So when you're tapping into your higher self, that's what I mean by the pockets of reality, that you're tapping into the energy that you're putting out, going above that to the infinite intelligence. And infinite intelligence is essentially thoughts, new thoughts on the leading edge, guiding us to the highest good. Those are the highest of thoughts that we can receive. So understanding that we have the ability to ask for that and to ask to receive those thoughts. And we all do receive insight, and it comes in those aha moments, or when you have a thought and it feels inspiring, or the thought where, oh my gosh, why am I just thinking of that? Why is that just coming to me now? Or the brilliant thought that just randomly comes to you. Those are all thoughts that we are receiving. That's how you can tell that you're receiving those. So to continue to ask to receive higher thoughts or higher infinite intelligence.
So if anyone else, by the way, has a question, please, by all means. And actually, I'll ask a question to everyone out there. Have you, do you have a practice? Do you find that this is easy, difficult to tap into? And when you do, right, how do you know? Like, when do you feel that you're tapping into the right energy, or the highest energy, the highest of infinite energy?
It's inspiring. It's inspiring. And for everyone's practice is different. I guess I wasn't looking at this conversation to go over the practices of how to do it. It's recognizing you do it. And you do receive. We all receive insight. So again, it's recognizing when we are receiving it by those aha moments, those inspiring thoughts that make you feel good, that feel like they kind of come out of nowhere, recognizing that that is insight. And it's very empowering to notice when we do recognize that, and that it is happening. And the more that you recognize it, the more that you'll notice it is happening. And to also be aware that you can ask for higher guidance. You can ask to tap in above to infinite intelligence, which is guiding you to not only your highest good, but it guides you to your highest good for humanity. So it's different than having positive thoughts, right? And understanding that our thoughts are things. It's a different, I guess they're just two completely different things. So it's understanding that you have the choice and that you can ask for the information and insight that you receive. It's I guess what your intentions are.
Well, I've heard you say this, or others and others, maybe to simplify it, move toward what feels good. Okay. And this may be a way to, like, how do I know when I'm feeling that or I'm receiving that? Or if there's, and again, it may just be it may be that aha moment. It may be that second that I get the spark, that I get that idea, or we're with friends or loved ones, and we're feeling something, and we're just like, wait a minute, a good example
Well,
was,
and
I
it
think,
doesn't always feel what we would perceive as feeling good, actually. And that's what Marjorie and I were having. I hope you don't mind, Marjorie. But
no. Marjorie, yes. Give us an example. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't. That's where you're saying it always feels good and move towards what always feels good. That is the positive thoughts, right? And yes, absolutely, I aspire for that. But this is something completely different. And this is connecting to the energy. From where you were going with that, Scott, when you connect to the energy and you're feeling the insight, you can actually feel energy. And it's not warm and cuddly. It feels like right now I have little tingles. They feel like little electrical impulses on the palms of my hands, the bottom of my feet, coming up my shins. And as you begin to elevate your connection to energy, your body begins to adjust, and it has to adjust to its energy. So when I first started connecting, I connected so quickly at such a rapid pace that I would call them energy overloads. And I never napped in my life except when I was a little baby. And I would lay down in the afternoon for 4 to 5 hours. And my kids would come in and they were so confused what was happening. And I felt absolutely dehydrated. I felt completely drained. I had no idea what was going on, but it was very calm. It was a very calming feeling. And I began to understand, and I just started to call it an energy overload. I had risen kind of too quickly to connect to energy, and my body had to adjust. So those are instances where it doesn't necessarily feel all that great. Sometimes when I get insight, it feels like it's kind of squeezing my chest. So it's understanding those, and we all have different types of feelings that we go through as we are receiving this information. So it's not looking at what the physical feeling is, but how the state that your body is feeling. Through all of these, I feel really calm. And that's what Marjorie had sent me. What triggered this whole thing, this whole conversation, was the article that Marjorie had sent me on what was it?
The ascension rising. And,
okay, and the symptoms.
I would say I'm always becoming more aware of my energy just in general. How I show up, how, I think you said earlier, Christy, do I come with intentions, good intentions, the highest intentions, and how do I hold that? There's different forms though. I mean, I know there's levels, and I know, Lisa, just before we started the recording, all right, was teaching a class of college students hypnosis over Zoom, right? So,
right.
There's all forms of energy, energy workers, people that work with healing energy, and people that work with psychic energy, and people
Craig
that
does amazing things with energy.
Who does?
Craig.
Hi,
He's
Craig.
on my screen right next to you.
There we go. Are you gonna? I feel like what was that? Hollywood Squares.
I know, that's right.
I look down and so, hey, Craig. So how are you working with that, and what are you doing? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, sure. So Craig Cook, for the past 5 years, I've been practicing Chinese medical Qigong. And during that time, actually before, about 6 years ago, I met my instructor, who Christy has met. And he helped me through a period of time when I really needed the work. I run my day job is I run a company called Rhythm. It's a digital marketing agency, bunch of employees, bunch of stress. And that time 6 years ago, it just was in an interesting place that going to experience this, this energy medicine over a period of time, about 6 months, really helped me get back to center. I was really pretty off balance emotionally, mentally. It really helped center myself. And at that time, my instructor, Russ Anderson, he asked me if I was interested in learning. And I said, oh yeah, absolutely. So since then January 2015, started learning various Qigong exercises. It's for those of you that aren't familiar with it, it's a Chinese-based system, an energy medicine modality that's been around for thousands of years. Through countless experimentation and documentation over the many generations of practitioners, the Chinese have really created a system. They've done an excellent job at creating a system for healing, essentially. But it goes into a lot of different levels, kind of like what Christy was talking about earlier as far as receiving information. So there's two aspects of the work I do. When I sit with someone for about the first 45 minutes or so, the first half, it's actually an intuitive reading, because as you're doing the Qigong exercises and meditations and so forth, you're attuning your body and opening up your channels to generate that antenna to receive information. And of course, you want the higher realms of information as opposed to other stuff that's out there. And there's some interesting things that Christy touched on earlier too, because with that part of the work, it's all about being a healer, and the information that comes in, is that going to inspire? Is that going to create hope? Is it kind, necessary, true? That's the type of information that I want to pass on. It's not really relaying negative, bad information, because what's the point of freaking someone out? It's the work I do is being a healer first, and then the information that comes in is to inspire and be hopeful, and to also help with healing and transformation. And then the second half of the work is actually getting someone on the table and running Qi, what Chinese call energy Qi, and around the body, within the body, through different patterns and so forth, and different energy gates, there are the chakra systems, and to have healing, whether it's emotional, mental, spiritual, physical too. But the strongest effects that I've noticed that I've had is a lot with people's heart centers, a pretty big effect there. Also people that have a lot of insomnia, they get help there. Just a lot of mental and emotional stuff is where I'm pretty effective, actually. And that's the summary. So hopefully that wasn't too long, but yeah.
No, great.
No, it's great. I had Derek and I went and met with Craig, and it was an unbelievable experience. And that's what Craig, because I know him, he does tap into the highest of pure positive energy, and he does understand the different levels and the choice. That we do have a choice of because there's all different levels of positive energy, right? It's not just a choice of choosing positive or negative. There's different levels of evolved positive energy. So, and I love that about Craig. That's what you tap into.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course.
And by the way, anyone else yes, Sam?
Yeah, basically the way I see it is we're surrounded by higher intelligence, which is frequency, energy, vibration, and
right.
We don't allow it to come in because we have a lot of anxiety and stress, or we're taking drugs, bad health. So if you be in a place of what I call least resistance, to allow the higher intelligence to come in, then you will see a sign from the universe through serendipity, synchronicity. You have creative desires that just shows up out of nowhere, like Christy was saying, aha moments. And you see more and more accelerates because you have zero resistance. In other words, you open yourself to the universe with no anxiety, no stress, no nothing. So you show up in a place of no agenda, with no nothing, with no mind, no thoughts, no agenda, no goals. So you get into a place in what I call nothingness. Then things start happening. That's the way I kind of explain how the higher intelligence works.
Right.
Great,
No, that
thank
was
you.
great, Sam.
And by the way, for those that don't know, Sam is a CPA that happens to have a wellness center in his office. Anyone else? This is I really appreciate kind of the insight on this, and I have my own theory and thought on how and when I'm actually tapping in. And I'm very curious to know, maybe Christy, even back to you, is, how do we tap in? Can we do this deliberately?
It's you can, and everyone has their own process. For me, it just kind of happened, and I'm just kind of an open portal for it to flow through me. So I didn't try, and I think the more I don't try, the more I continue to evolve. The
that
less,
may be the
if
secret.
I have no expectations, amazing things happen. So that's what, for me, we all do receive, and it's recognizing when we are receiving, and then appreciating how flippin' amazing it is that we just received insight. And it's truly recognizing how lucky we are. And for me, the more I do that, the more surprises I get. So it's just, it's recognizing they're very simple. It's very subtle. It's just an overall knowing. And it's that split second moment of an inspiring thought that comes out of nowhere, that aha moment, or wow, that feels really good, or I want to do that, I need to call so-and-so, where it just kind of comes out of nowhere. Recognizing that before we talk ourselves out of it, it came from somewhere. So that's, for me, the more I receive more when I don't have expectations, when I just kind of throw out there what my ask is, what my question is, and then allow it to come. A perfect example of how I did it and following the signs. This is actually what this call, I had originally had it scheduled to be, was how to ask and see the signs and then follow the signs. But it's tying together. It was about probably a couple months ago, and I was sitting on the couch, and I know Center for Creators is my purpose, to pull together brilliant minds to host conversations. So I was sitting on the couch, and I wanted to know what the higher purpose really was, like the specifics. And so I'm sitting on the couch and I'm scrolling through Netflix, and all of these like random violent things started popping up. And I'm like, well, this just doesn't make sense. I had just asked the question and you're showing me this, and these aren't things that I want to watch. And then it hit me. Create an alternative platform. I was like, wow, okay. And so I knew it was just a thought that came out of nowhere, and I was following the signs. And so then I'm on continuing, I was on my phone scrolling, and a letter from Einstein popped up. And it was the letter from Einstein to his daughter that said, I have found the ultimate answer. The ultimate answer for the force of the universe is love. And my whole body just went into chills. And I went, oh my God, where's this letter been? How do we not know where this letter is? Or how come it's like not his most profound work? And then I kind of let it go. And I'm like, and then the next day I sat and I really thought about it. And I'm like, how flipping amazing is that whole process that just happened? And I just kind of brushed it aside as a normal everyday occurrence. And when I could truly sit and recognize that I had asked for what my purpose was, and the universe had given me little signs to follow for me to figure it out on my own, so I could have those aha moments. And it was, I guess what I'm sharing is really cherish those moments and recognize how huge they are. Because we all have those moments that happen to us, but we're not, myself included, not recognizing what truly happens and the magnitude and the power behind it. So once we're able to truly recognize that and be in awe of what just happened, that's when it happens more and more. We're able to, it's always happening. That's when we're able to recognize
the flow,
it.
right?
You follow the signs. When the signs, I mean, why in the world would violence be popping up on my TV? I was like, this just doesn't make sense. So there had to be a reason.
Right.
So I asked, and my kids think I'm crazy because I ask these questions just, you know, by myself. I'll ask them out loud. Why are you showing me this? My kids are like, Mom's at it again. But, so you don't have to ask out loud, but, but it's recognizing the answers don't come how we would normally expect them to come. They guide you. They guide you to have the aha moment.
Oh, thank you. Now, and I might actually call on Karen, because this is I don't know if there's a difference or if this is really a very similar idea in flow. You know, when you look at you know, whether it's a law of attraction, The Secret, we've all heard about that. Again, different forms, different combinations. There's not any one specific combination. It's what feels good to you. You know, I was triggered a lot by what Christy was saying when you know, it's like, throw it out there, ask the question, you know, have it flow. You've talked to me about that quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. When seeing it.
Well,
ask the question and then pay attention. Yeah.
So, would you like to provide a few words there, Karen, on what your practice is? I want to say practice, but what you often have told me.
I am so believing that I create my own reality and that I am an extension of my creator here in this physical body, and I am eternal. I am eternal. I also believe I'm the center of my own universe. I am creating my own reality. Therefore, I am the center of my own universe. And where I beat myself up for, oh God, what is it now? The last 25 years, when I had my experience of channeling, and we're talking channeling energy, and everything is energy. Everything is energy. Mm-hmm. But when I had my experience of receiving, and I love that word, Christy, I am receiving. I'm also a transmitter, but I am receiving. My first real experience was like my teeth vibrated for a week. I mean, it was so powerful. And that was what came to me 25, 6 years ago about a new Trinity. A new Trinity is happy, healthy, and wealthy. That's my Trinity. And I almost killed myself. I mean, I contracted cancer twice in the last 25 years for beating my head against the wall, trying to get other people to understand it. It doesn't work because they're on a different frequency. We are not communicating with people who are on a different frequency. And every time we try, we only hurt ourselves.
Right. Sorry, just real quick. The first insight, one of the first pieces of insight that I received was they were for me, but it applies to all of us. It's not my job to teach or convince. It's to share with those who are ready. It should never be a push. And that's what when you're sharing and when we're talking about this, that's what's so important, to have people who understand and want to continue evolving and expanding, that they want to be part of this conversation. It feels so much better.
I believe in teaching by example, and that's what I'm doing. I teach by example. I no longer have a church. I started the Church of Prophecy, PROFITSEA, almost killed myself doing it. Could not understand why everybody in the world didn't understand what a fantastic idea this was. I mean, just give it up. I'm living my life happy, healthy, and wealthy. As wealthy as I allow myself to be, because we all have a ceiling on that. Every one of us.
Well, that's actually apropos, and because one of the things that we are here to do is lift those limits, because we all might have them and we don't understand them and we don't even see them sometimes. They're there, and it may take others to come together and help lift them. And to your point, I mean, it's infinite where we can go. It's infinite what we can do. And I think it's an opportunity right now that we have to take this to, as far as we want.
Yeah, sorry. I just have an overall comment about what Craig and Sam were referring to. I too have had a Qigong practice, and in my studies to traditional Chinese medicine, Qigong is used to unblock. So to unblock all the channels and let things flow. So it is about flow, and I think Sam mentioned resistance. So I think, everyone, including myself, has certain resistance to things, certain resistance to that aha moment that we get. And we may just dismiss it, right? We may just get that moment and you go, no, never mind. And then we just kind of dismiss it. So, so my question is, what practices that can we do aside from Qigong or meditation? How can we best align ourselves when there is a moment, a passing aha moment, that energy that we receive? How can we recognize it, acknowledge it, and then grow that? So is there a presence of mind that you find is conducive to that?
Slowing down.
Slowing down.
It's just slowing down. Slowing down.
Yeah, free flow writing, journaling, because there will be times when I'll do that and go back and back. I'm like, oh my God, I've written this down 5-6 times. But if it's free, and then I'll go back and like, I've been saying this message, but and sometimes it's to get it on, get it out of my head, get it on paper.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. Journaling is huge. I log every single day.
The free flow. Yeah.
Yeah, every single day it's journaled, and anytime you see those signs, whether it's repeating number patterns or whatever the signs are for you, journaling that every single day. It just expands the consciousness to able to recognize the communication, and then it just keeps rolling or snowballing in a sense from there. Also, I noticed that there'll be some days where I'll because I'm just too busy and I'll miss the days, but I always catch it up. But I notice when I'm heavy days of journaling, a lot of times I'll get dream messages. That's another way of receiving information. We've been talking about receiving information. There's different ways of receiving information, thoughts, images, audio, but also through dream messages. A lot of times when I have clients coming in the night before, I'll have dream messages about them, and then I'll ask them about the dream messages, and you know, it's pretty interesting how it works. So there's a couple of things. I think the journaling is huge, doing it consistently, and then also just practicing. Because when I first started work, I did the energy work first for the first, say, year and a half, and then I didn't get into the intuition portion until after that. And I remember the very first time my instructor had me work with someone, I was like, "Are you sure that's it? Like, really?"
Right.
Oh, that's interesting, because I think I've been doing this all my life. It was,
Right.
yeah, because, you know, it's just so subtle. And for me,
Yeah.
a lot of times it just comes in as a thought, and I have to address your other question. I kind of have to get into a zone usually. Like someone like Christy or my instructor, they're able to just go like right off the cuff. That's pretty amazing. I have to normally kind of get in a zone, but the big thing with me is just emptying my mind. And that's my challenge, because my day job.
And trusting.
You know, yeah,
Trusting that you're receiving.
trusting. Yeah, that's right. Trust is because, but I get in my own way when I'm sitting with someone, and if I'm sitting there and all of a sudden, you know, suddenly the thought comes in, and I'm like, okay, should I say that? Maybe not. I get my own way when I need to just throw it out there. But it's very difficult to, for me anyways, to sometimes discern, is that my mind getting in the way and logical thinking, or is that actually information that's coming in, and it's just best to throw it out? Because suddenly, oh, wow,
Right.
it was information that just came in. I'm glad I threw that out. But I still get my way. Just, it's tough to trust and keep going.
Right. And I find a lot of times when I'm throwing something out, because I've learned to truly trust what it is that's coming through me. And for me, a lot of times it's guiding you towards conversation, to expand on the conversation, to gain clarity, so we can get that knowledge ourselves. That's where the insight that I get, it's not like I get the fact of this is, you know, exactly what it is we're trying to share. They're just kind of, the insight's leading me to where I need to be.
So this is Rob.
Okay.
Christy and I have
Rob.
been together for, hi Christy, everybody. We've been working together for probably a year and a half now. And one of the things that's come up recently is my business practice has gotten very, very busy. I apologize, I'm not on camera, but I don't have very good coverage here. One of the things I've been doing is meditating before sleep. And I asked the universe for the solution to a challenge. So for example, we're developing projects, and possibly with a new environment, a specific category of lending is not available for, say, retail, for example. And so we have a couple of different times in the last week where I will ask the question as I'm meditating into sleep. I dream all night long and I wake up with the answers. And I'm able to take that right into my architect or right into a financial partner. And the solution is 100% there in front of us. And it's one of those things where, you know, we struggled all day long to come up with the solution to that problem. And then I dreamt it through and woke up with the absolute clarity of what the answer was. And just to add into this, the way I met Christy was I woke up one morning and had to go see my friend Brandon in Orange County. I had to go see Brandon in Orange County. I booked a flight. I flew to Orange County and I took my associate with me. And sitting with Brandon was Christy. I knew immediately then that's why I had gone to Orange County. And I think it's that aha moment. You have to trust and not outthink what is being given to you. And you have to be open to that. And Christy's really helped me with that. So I just wanted to share that. That's very interesting.
So when you said that, Rob, I wanted to share that with you. Also,
thank you.
No, that is good
well,
stuff.
you know, it's interesting too, because there's a you know, part of this is I've found and I see, and you know, it's, you sometimes don't know where you're getting it or why you're getting it, or maybe you do know where you're getting, you know, getting these messages or getting these thoughts and these feelings and allowing it to flow. but it's the reward of it. It's the reward of receiving and going, oh, I noticed that. Right. And
Right.
It's like, and you're like, hey, this, something's working. I feel, we're in alignment because things are working, or you feel better. You're happier. I mean, right. Look, the world can crumble around you. Doesn't mean you have to. So.
Right. And that's back to what I was saying, how I do receive is being in that calm space and literally focusing on that moment. And living in a still moment. Sometimes I feel like I'm riding on the back of a wave, like there are two waves, and it kind of like in a slow motion movie where I'm just noticing and appreciating everything. And that's what allows me kind of slowing everything down to, but everything is still moving at normal pace. But I'm able to slow it down so I'm not missing, right? When we move too fast, we tend to miss those signs of the numbers or, little birds. I get a lot of messages from birds, but we tend to miss that when we're moving too quickly. So that's what Terry, I know you had said a couple of weeks ago that, over the past few years, I've really become like inner calm. And that's part of how I'm able to receive and understand.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you. And I think on that note, because we are coming up on the hour,
quick response to
time
Terry.
flies, right? When you're having fun. And
I think Sam wanted to say something.
I just had a quick response
to
Terry
Sam.
as to what can you do. Basically, I think to me, it's just being happy, not because something happened that's positive, just to be happy for no reason. If you could keep that state of mind of happiness with no reason, then I think that would help you getting into the place of no resistance to allow.
So you mean you might want a happy bubble?
Yeah, happy bubble.
Hello, everyone needs a happy bubble.
It's my belief It's my belief that everyone who knows who they are will be happy.
Yes, I like that.
There you go.
And accept that. So thank you. And so I want to thank all of you. Seriously, this was one of our first conversations. There will be many, but this was very helpful, informative, and invigorating. And
and I'd like to interject just for one quick sec.
Sure, absolutely.
The plan is to have these every Thursday at 4. I would love to I want to have leading edge conversations that help us all to evolve and expand. So if anyone would like to host one, or you have topics, we want to work together, I would love for everyone to be engaged. So please feel free to reach out to me. And if you know anyone who you'd like to invite to this call, who you think aligns and would help to add to the conversation, please feel free to invite them.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you.
Everybody,
guys
share
soon.
with
Have
the
a
young
great
people.
I love it.
Everybody, share with the young people. They're hungry.
That's good.
There you go. Okay. Thanks, everyone. This was great.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys.
Be safe.
Hopefully talk to you guys all next Thursday.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye. Thanks for
Bye.
joining.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Christy, it's